Season 32 is almost about to end, and you are still stuck in Legend. Try to get out of hell, but which hero do you pick? Who is solid, who is in the current meta? I know you are stuck in confusion. Don't worry, your friendly neighborhood Kazuki is here to help you out. Hi guys, Kazuki here, and in this video we are going to take a look at 15 heroes who will help you rank up to Mythic and above in no time. Please note, the list is not in order as it is because it's really hard to rank all these heroes. So we are done with that, let's move on with the list. Let's start the video off with the most picked heroes in all ranks, Moskov. Moskov has been an amazing hero since his revamp. His late game ability to just carry the game on his back is just amazing. He is just so hard to counter. When he has his items, he is amazing in both Trinity and crit build. Even though he lacks range, he makes it up with his mobility, and guys, this is your time. Use Moskov as much as possible before he gets his planned nerf in the next update. His win rate is through the roof, but his pick rate is also out of this world, which means he is the most contested hero in rank, making it difficult to pick, but you should still be able to pick him. And if you can't pick him, hey, there are 14 heroes more. Let me give you some tips for Moskov. As you know, Moskov is a late game scaling hero and he does need to snowball, and his early game is pretty weak, so please don't be aggressive. And always remember to use worlds to your full advantage. It's so easy. And his ultimate is excellent mobility and a finishing off skill, but use it carefully. Here are the suggested builds and emblems for Moskov. Let's move on to the next hero on the list, Roger. Roger also, since his revamp, is amazing. Both his human and wolf forms are amazing, his early game is just too good, he can pretty much dominate in the gold and is very difficult to kill in the jungle. Although the popular choice is in the gold lane, if you can't pick him in the gold lane, it's fine, you can still fit him in the jungle. His ability to engage and disengage fights is amazing. His mobility is almost unparalleled for the roles he plays. We all know that he was always an excellent finisher with his wolf form, but with his human form, now he is also an excellent engaging hero. Time for some tips. As we all know, Roger's both forms are useful. His human form has HP based damage, which means it doesn't matter on who you are hitting, so don't be afraid to put pressure on roamers. But it doesn't mean that you have to engage just them. Your goals is always the backline. You have pretty amazing mobility, take advantage of that, rotate all around the map, keeping constant pressure on all the lanes, and you can do this even if you are in the gold lane because your clear is far superior than almost all the gold laners. You can still rotate, but don't forget your laning duties. And because you are a lane bully, be a bully, hold the lane, freeze the lane, deny the gold, deny the EXP, and get your team in a very early advantage. Yes, he has enough, but he is not out of the meta. Here are the suggested builds and emblems for Roger. Time to move on to our next hero, Helcurt. Helcurt since the revamp is amazing. These are the few revamps that are done right. His survivability, his CC, his damage, his mobility, and heck, even his skins, which you can get using the Kazuki Official store, by the way. You know, just saying. He can come and kill and safely get out because the amount of mobility he has, thanks to his passive. And his ability to go invisible is just amazing. He is so hard to catch. Let me give you some tips and tricks for Helcurt. Helcurt, to be honest, is a very easy hero to play. You just have to not miss your stringer and make sure to lane your second skill properly. Just do these two and almost 90% of the enemy's mage or marksman HP is just deleted. Just 2 or 3 basic attacks and you have killed them. Being Helcurt, you have amazing rotations, so it doesn't mean you have to always stick to the traditional jungle role. You can play in the EXP lane, you can play in roam. Helcurt with dire head is just a monster, by the way. So a utility jungler and a roam Helcurt can totally work, and it is amazing. Here are the suggested builds and emblems. Let's move on to our next hero, who is none other than Vexana. Vexana is and has always been an amazing hero who is very unique and annoying. But through all the recent changes and buffs given to her, she is just too powerful, too powerful. Her CC and damage potential are just amazing. She is one of the very few mages that a beginner could pick up and perform well. Just imagine what you, a Kazuki official subscriber, can do. Let me share some tips for Vexana. Vexana has amazing range and CC, but is very weak to burst. So be aware of your positioning all the time. Since she is one of the fastest clears in the game, if I don't see you in other lanes, helping in ganks, I will be pretty much at you. Use your clear speed to your advantage. The mage opposite to you will have less clear than you almost all the time, although she doesn't really need that many times. She does leak the horrifying damage in the early game, so be careful of your position. Here are the suggested builds and emblems for Vexana. Up next on the list is the Prince of Abyss, Dyrroth. Dyrroth has been and always will be a very solid hero for solo queue, even if he is not on the list. Even if he is not put in good tiers, Dyrroth is always a good hero just because of two things: his sustain and his armor shred. Dyrroth not only opens their armors himself but for his whole team, which means he can go the defensive build path and be a great support or a secondary front line. His ultimate is a great finishing move and it's almost impossible to stop because it has CC immunity. Some tips for Dyrroth. I'm pretty sure we all know the combos for Dyrroth. There is no way I'm going to reiterate it. Jungle Dyrroth works, but Petrified Dyrroth is the real deal now. Based on the situation, use this first skill or second to engage, and remember to try to use his second skill whenever it is enhanced. It will cause a lot more damage. And as I previously said, if your team lacks a solid front line, no worries, go hybrid or full tank. It doesn't matter, you guys as a team will be able to dish out the damage required anyway. And Dyrroth is just a monster of EXP laner. He is just so oppressive against almost all the EXP laners, so pick him if you have no other options left. Here are the suggested builds and emblems. Time to move on to our next hero, which is Masha. It might be a bit hard to keep up with all the changes Masha has undergone to make her amazing. But right now she is amazing and kind of balanced in a way, but still strong. Masha is not your early game strong and late game tank anymore. She is a decent early game and mid to late game monster. She needs a few items, and then she can just go and destroy everyone. The amount of damage she can dish out thanks to her ultimate, having virtually no CD, is just insane. All mages and marksmen cannot deal with her. Even if you have CC, she will just be immune when her HP resets and clap back with her ultimate. Some tips for Masha. You are Masha, you have 3 HP bars and CC immunity built into your kit. Don't be afraid to go in and out, but don't blindly go in, please. She is not a god. Your targets as a Masha should always be backlines. You can rotate a lot as Masha. The mid lane is just really easy target for you as soon as you hit level 4. Keep visiting the mid lane for some free kills. Here are the suggested builds and emblems for Masha. Up next is the one and only Big Black Dragon Zhong. Zhong, like Dyrroth, has always been a very good hero in the EXP lane. He has a great sustain, great engage, great dive, great CC and great damage. He is also very annoying EXP laner to lane against, and he is just too good. What else can I say about Zhong that you already don't know?
Perfect.
Let me give you a few tips for Zhong.
Okay.
There are many combos you can do with Zhong, but let me give you a few essential ones. Use his skill 2 to mark your enemies, use your first skill and then basic attack, and then third with Petrify for stun lock CC combo, which will also activate Zhong's passive. Make sure you line the edges of your first skill to maximize damage. You can perform the same combo whenever you use your ultimate in the middle of their backline. It is impossible to stop Zhong once he goes in. His AoE ultimate is just too powerful, and with the dragon form Zhong, it is almost impossible to kill him. Just remember that you don't go in when your team is not ready. Since you are the main engage, don't go in without your teammates. Next, let's check out another solid gold laner, Brody. We all know why Brody is here, and we all know how Brody has been throughout his history in ML.
I love you.
Although he is not at his most powerful, he is not at his weakest either. He is just solid, he has insane range and can outrange almost all marksmen. Once you lock on, his ultimate also deals too much damage at full stakes. Some tips for Brody. For Brody to dominate, you have to learn how his staking system works. His damage output significantly changes based on the number of stakes you have. So always try to line up your first skill behind multiple targets so that you can apply more stakes on the target. Here are the suggested builds and emblems for our DJ. Let's move on to Terizla next. Again, just a solid choice in the EXP lane, and he doesn't want to leave my solo ranking videos. He is just too excellent of a choice for solo queue rank up, especially if you're on a rank up. He has almost everything you need in his kit, so pick him whenever you feel like it without thinking much. Some tips for Terizla. Since he has been in almost every solo ranking video, there are almost no new tips for Terizla. But I am Kazuki Official, so of course I am going to give you more tips. First and foremost, you can move while you use your second skill, which means you can dodge while you use your skills. Since you have a tank literally in your role now, don't hesitate to build or go full defense items. And you know how to use his combos, right? Just make sure not to waste them and use them at the right time. Here are the suggested builds for Terizla. Next up is the time traveler himself, Natan. Natan, ever since his buff on his ultimate CT, has just been an amazing late game monster. He can also shred through towers and deal a stupid amount of damage. His ultimate is also a good get out of jail card, and you can use it for engaging enemies too. For some tips and tricks for Natan. The best way to maximize damage on Natan is by activating his passive at maximum stakes. So whenever you use your ultimate, try to use it in places where you can lane your skills. You can see if you're landing it or not by just dragging and seeing. Here are the suggested builds and emblems for Natan. Nana is our next hero on the list. Nana has always been a strong and versatile support mage. Her ability to poke, crowd control and support her team makes her a great pick in almost any game. And dude, it's Nana. She's going to be strong. Some tips for Nana. Use her Molina Smooch to poke enemies and harass them in the lane. This will keep them on their toes and create opportunities for your team. Nana's ultimate Molina Blitz is great for team fights. Position yourself strategically to land it on multiple enemies and turn the tide of battle. Here are the suggested builds and emblems for Nana. Moving on to Gatotkacha. Gatotkacha is an incredible tank with massive crowd control and initiation capabilities. He can absorb a lot of damage while also disrupting enemies' formation. His rise to fame is just amazing. Just look at the position he is in right now. Some tips for Gatotkacha. His second skill, Unbreakable, is great for initiating fights and catching enemies off guard. The amount of shenanigans you can do with this skill is just amazing. To be honest, this skill is criminally underrated. You will agree with me once you check it out. Time your ultimate, Avatar of Guardian, to lane in the middle of enemy teams, creating chaos and opening up opportunities for your allies. With his passive Steel Bones, Gatotkacha can sustain in fights and keep applying pressure on the enemies. You can't lane your ultimate from a distance, dude, just do a 2-1 combo. Here are the suggested builds and emblems for Gatotkacha. Next, let's move on to Aamon. Yup, we have Aamon in this list, alright. He's just a monster now because the early jungle invade has gone and all the assassins are finally getting the spotlight after a long time. And one of them is Aamon. He has been receiving a lot of buffs because of the skin he is receiving. Time for some tips and tricks. Aamon is really simple and straightforward hero to play. All you have to focus on is maintaining your stealth and sharp stakes. Don't enter middle of team fights, just try to take down the enemy backlines. Play like a typical assassin. He's really good right now. Here are the suggested builds and emblems. Odette is a mage with high burst damage and excellent area control. Her ultimate Swan Song enemies if positioned correctly. And it's so hard to stop her ultimate nowadays. There are very few heroes with suppression and knock-up skills, so she is a nuisance to deal with. Though many people might not agree with her on the list, I still will recommend her to you. Some tips for Odette. Always position yourself in a safe place before using Swan Song, as Odette is vulnerable while channeling it. Especially when there are people with knock-up skills. Use her skill combos effectively, cast Avian Authority followed by Blue Nova to stun enemies, and then unleash Swan Song for maximum damage. Odette is squishy, so always stay at the backline and avoid overextending. Here are the suggested builds and emblems for Odette. Ruby is our final hero in this video. Ruby is never out of the meta. She is a durable fighter with great crowd control and sustainability. Her skill allows her to engage, disengage and control the battlefield effectively. One or two well-placed CC skills can help you to win the game. And let me tell you this again, she is the easiest hero to hook with. The easiest. Some tips for Ruby. Use her skill wisely, don't waste them, as they have relatively short cooldowns and can be used frequently to control enemies. Ruby's passive Let's Dance provides her with lifesteal and so much mobility, so use it to its full extent to both engage and disengage fights, making her versatile and unpredictable. And just give us some good hooks. Here are the suggested builds and emblems for Ruby. So guys, what are your thoughts? Which hero do you think I left out? Will you be using these heroes in the upcoming days? Comment down all your answers below. That will be all for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Keep supporting Kazuki Official.